So let's find out. You know, I just think, I agree with both your comments that there are levels above, there's levels between Abdullayev and Lomachenko. And I'd like to see him go to those, you know, be in those levels, but he's mandatory. But he's dealing with those guys so easily, it gives me great confidence that he can deal with the rest. But, you know, I mean, I think they're bold. Like I said to them, do you want to chase Lomachenko? Yeah, we do. We like that fight. I mean, they'll be here, you know, Bill will tell you, they believe they can win that fight.
Okay, so in the past, you made these offers for, let's say, like, trying to get the Gervonta Tank Davis fight, Kentucky Farmer under zone. And would you be willing to do something like that to try to get Lomachenko?
Yeah, it won't work, but I might do it for fun.
Why don't it work?
Well, because he's not allowed to box on another platform. You know, we had the whole thing with Crawler. You know, when Crawler was mandatory, we were going to go to purse bids. They told me clear, if you win the purse bids, we will vacate the belt. Lomachenko is not allowed to box on another network. So what I will do is I will make an offer to Lomachenko, because I think he's massively underpaid right now, and I will want to show him the levels that we would pay for a fight like that under zone. Not going to be accepted in a million years. But I would let Devin Haney box Lomachenko on ESPN, no problem.
No, Eddie, with that being said, did you hear the Twitter comments by Shakur Stevenson where he said all the major promoters should get in the room and make boxing great again? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I'm a puppy, I guess. I've only been promoting 10 years, although I've been around boxing for 30 years. You're better off asking Lou DiBella. There's about as much chance of that happening as there is of Lou growing hair and me growing, or me losing weight. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like
you know. First of all, we still sometimes do make the biggest fights, you know, and people do move around on occasion when the money necessitates it, and the fighters demand it, and promoters are able to work together. But you have to. We have different right now. There are. I hate that term. Different streets and different sides of the street. But there are fighters who are attached to representation that's not going to let them move around, and or at least so easily. So it really, you know what, the fans and you guys have a lot to do with causing the demand for a fight to be sufficient enough to necessitate promoters working together. And you know what, I mean, a kid like a Devin Haney who's going to be in Lomachenko's grill until he gets a big fight, his smack talk that some people, I heard a couple of people like buzzing when he started dissing Loma in the ring. But you know what, man, he's trying to do his thing to build the fight. He's trying to do his thing to create demand, and he's trying to show people he'll fight anybody on earth. So I respect that, and eventually, you know, the big fights do tend to happen. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer than we would like. Right now, there's some more impediments to making some of those fights happen. Look, it's unfortunate when you see guys out there basically saying, when a fighter himself is saying, I like Shakur saying, sit down and try to make the fights. That's cool. Like, I mean, respect to him for doing that. I've seen a lot of shit being said recently by a lot of fighters saying, I'm not fighting on this side of the street, I'm staying where I am. Fuck do you care what side of the street you're on? I mean, if you're a champion, you want to fight the best guys out there. At least I want to hear the fighters demanding the big fights. And then the public demanding the big fights, the writers calling for the big fights, the fighters demanding the big fights, then we're forced to talk. We're forced to communicate, to try to figure out a way to make them happen. You know, they had to make Lennox Lewis and Tyson happen. They had to figure out a way. The pay-per-view was on multiple platforms, you know. I mean, Eddie sent some guys over to ESPN already. ESPN has sent people to the zone. Ramirez fought Hooker on the zone. You know, there is history. It can happen. It'll happen more often, but in order for it to happen more often, the fighters themselves have to demand it, the press has to demand it, and most importantly, the people paying the money, the fans, have to demand it.
Hey, Eddie, you said the Logan Paul and KSI press conferences tomorrow in LA. How soon are you going to move forward, and is it a foregone conclusion that Devin Haney will be on that card?
Yeah, provided he gets signed off tonight, which is almost a formality.
Did he even break a sweat?
No, I don't think so.
I think he's fine.
Yeah, so we'll announce that tomorrow, basically. We're flying soon to get there tomorrow. And like I said before, it's the perfect audience for him. You know, he's super excited about it. You know, and I wanted to hear it from him because you get some people on social media, He must be devastated going on that card. He asked to go on that card. You know, you've got millions of young people watching from around the world. He's 20 years old. He is the future of boxing. So there's no better audience for Devin Haney than that audience and bringing in new fans.
Hey Lou, what do you think of Eddie doing that Logan Paul card?
He's a massive Logan Paul fan.
I gotta be honest, I'm not a Logan Paul fan. I said it already, I really don't. I mean, my brother was a suicide. I got real strong feelings about that. I got problems with some shit that Logan Paul did. But you know what? He's an internet sensation. He has a marketplace. The other dude is another guy who's got an internet sensation with a marketplace. And it's something that was already been proven when they fought the first time that people want to see it. So I mean, it's not my thing. I don't even know who the guys are really, but I mean, unfortunately, I know Logan Paul. I don't know the other guy, but a lot of people do, and it's going to bring in eyeballs. And if you're in the zone, it makes sense, you know. And it is a. I don't believe necessarily that fight is going to bring a tremendous audience or move people to boxing fandom who aren't fans already. However, I do think it's going to bring eyeballs to the zone, and I think that there is that millennial crowd that really follow the social media influencers or in that world. They're going to gravitate to the sport, and you know what? Maybe they do see Devin Haney on the undercard or another young fighter on the undercard, and it causes them to pay attention a little bit more to boxing. So, I mean, I don't view it the way I view a serious boxing event, but if people want to see something, people want to pay for it, then God bless them. I mean, so it's a free marketplace and it's a free world, and these guys, no question, look at the social media following that these dudes have. It's sort of remarkable. And I don't get it necessarily, but then again, I'm 59 fucking years old.
Eddie, back to the fight tonight. You mentioned Haney's 20 years old and you've never seen someone work that hard. Talk about his in-ring performance, his poise, that he wasn't trying to do too much, that he wasn't, trying to impress the crowd. I mean, he looked like he was a seasoned veteran.
That's the thing. I mean, when you watch, like Lou talked earlier about Lomachenko's feet, Haney controls the distance so well. Like he's sliding in, he's holding, he's walking you back to the ropes, then he's back to the jab, he's spinning you around, like all these things for someone so young. That's what's remarkable, and it's not, like we talk about the level of opposition. It's not just the level of opposition, it's what he's doing in the ring, what he's doing to him. He's walking in with uppercuts. It's like he's like a genius. Yeah, he doesn't watch tape of some fighters. He gets told what to do by Bill, but he works it out so quickly, and that's why you see him go through the gears. Like he was about to annihilate Abdulayev, like annihilate him, really hurt him, and he was just picking him, placing the shots. The body shots were incredible. Like it was the maturity that he shows, and forget work ethic, the maturity that he shows with his shot selection, his feet, everything. It's I haven't seen it before. I was lucky enough to promote Lomachenko 2 weeks ago in London, and again watching that, same thing. Doesn't quite do it with the same speed as Haney, but obviously again he's just on another level. But I still struggle to get my head around. He's 24 and 20 years old.
Not that, but if you watched him when he was 8-0 or 10-0, and you watch him now, he's so much better. I mean, so much better. I mean, and not to say, like you saw him at 17, 18, and you knew he was going to be something to fight. He had all this ability, but in terms of how quickly he's getting better, man, he's.
They took him all around the gym sparring, and they still do. His dad drives him everywhere. LA, taught the sparring at the Wild Card, and in Vegas.
That's how you get better. You get better by getting in there with guys that are more seasoned than you are and have more experience than you are. And he's a guy that's just really, really getting better quickly.
Talk of the devil, ladies and gentlemen, round of applause, Mr. Devin Haney.